And this is Tech Talk Radio, the show that talks about computers, technology, and the internet. And for years, we have been able to be a part of the Consumer Electronics Show put on by the Consumer Technology Association. And we really consider him a good friend of the show. We have with us standing by Jim Barry, all the way from Las Vegas, getting ready for the big show. Jim, great to talk to you.
Nice to be with you, Andy. Always nice to be with you.
I'm sure you're really excited about the show. There's so much to expect on this 50th anniversary.
I am really excited. And you're right, it's the 50th anniversary, 50 years of CES. I think it's the 70th show because there used to be two a year, one in Chicago and one in Las Vegas, going back a number of years. But when you think about it, in 1967, when the first show in New York, the new technology were things like color TV and, 8-track tapes and cassette tapes. That was what was new, and hi-fi, of course, was still new. So that was 50 years ago. This year we have Internet of Everything. We have autonomous vehicles. We've got wearable technology. We've got family tech. We have just about everything imaginable. This is going to be the biggest show ever. We're going to have something like 44 football fields, and you've been here a number of times, Andy. You know what it's like at CES. It takes over the entire town of Las Vegas.
It really is absolutely huge. Now, for those people who maybe hear about this every year, they hear of the event, and they have no idea why it happens. Seriously, what is the purpose behind this big show put on by the Consumer Technology Association?
Well, you know, it's actually expanded over the years. Started as the place where retailers would come to see the products they were going to put on the store shelves later that year. And it still is that. We see stuff. Good example, last year, one of the big items at CES was virtual reality headsets. And I think all of your viewers and listeners will know that this past holiday season was one of the big ads that you saw a lot of were for these virtual reality headsets. So that's one reason. But it's really become the center of the digital universe. It is the place where technology meets commerce. And we're going to have over 160,000 people again this year. Last year was 177,000, I think, from all over the world. Over 50,000 of those people are from other countries, not the United States. So it really is the place where tech meets commerce.
Now, with some of the stuff that we're going to see at the show this year, some of this we won't see for maybe a year, maybe two, maybe three.
Yeah,
a lot of this is really, I don't want to say kick-started, but a lot of this is really just in concepts.
Well, you're absolutely right. And one of the best places here at the show is a place called Eureka Park. We started Eureka Park in 2012, and this is companies, and we use the term companies kind of loosely because in many cases it's a guy and a gal or two gals with an idea for a better electronic mousetrap. Right. And they come here and they have a very small booth, 10 by 10, and they're looking for angels, for venture capital. The Shark Tank people are here. They're looking for money, where the big companies are here to work with their existing dealers or to grow their dealership, all of those kinds of things. So one of the great places I love to go every year, again, this is the fifth year. When we started it, there were 50 companies. This year, there's about 600 companies in Eureka Park, which is really the soul of CES when you think about it. It's where innovation really comes to the fore.
Now, there was a comment made not too long ago, and I'm sure this got back to you guys, about gadgets being dead. And I totally disagreed with the comment. This is not just a big gadget fest. This is real practical items that people can use in everyday life to make their lives better. And in some cases, again, to build that better mousetrap.
You're absolutely right. And, you know, people who come in here looking just for gadgets forget that this is a business show. As I said, 170 or so thousand people from all over the world. The typical showgoer has 33 business meetings. Think of the amount of money on airfare and hotels that they're saving. They're spending it this week, but not traveling all over the world at these other meetings. Right. So it's all of that. There's a huge conference session here, as you know, and the people from Hollywood are here, from the entire content community. to see what are the devices that people are using. And then it's become a show for all these other industries as well. You know, one of the keynotes this year is by the chief executive of Carnival Cruises. Think of that. And they're talking about the experience economy, how technology, whether it's virtual reality, whether it's just the smartphone, whether it's cameras to record your enjoyment on these cruises, all of those things. I'm really excited to see what he announces in his keynote of how Carnival Cruise is going to use all of this technology that's been introduced this year and all the years at CES.
Now, Jim, we hear the term, and we heard this a lot last year, and have continued to hear it, and I think a lot of consumers may hear it, not sure exactly what it means, Internet of Things.
Internet of Things, IoT, you'll see the shorthand, or Internet of Everything, and basically it means putting a sensor on just about any device or object. And we've got everything from basketballs to baby booties to clothing that are connected. And this is enabled because of smaller and smaller sensors, better digital technology, and better wireless technology. You can then connect just about anything to another device, to the cloud, to the internet to connect to something else, and to a smartphone for command and control.
I'll tell you one thing that I thought was pretty amazing, just one of the many products, and I've told 4 people about this, and every one of them said, I want one. It's an umbrella. And the umbrella is solar powered, will turn to face the sun, comes with Bluetooth, USB connectors. I mean, it's stuff that we don't think about, but it can. Once we start using it, we say, wow, this is great. This has really made my life enjoyable.
One of the biggest trends, again, that we saw last year, and a lot of folks have seen it, was a big holiday gift item, is this combination of voice recognition and artificial intelligence. Think the Amazon Echo, Alexa, or the Google Home, Hey Google. And we're going to see a lot more devices using that technology. And you bring up a great point, Andy. One of the things people ask me, what are you looking for at the show? I'm looking for the thing I don't know I'm looking for.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that you see at CES. I always tell the newbies who come, I tell them a couple of things, and you know this as well as anybody, Andy. You got to focus because it's so big. You got to look at what you're trying to accomplish. What are the things you definitely want to see, the meetings you definitely want to have. We're in the desert. You guys know about that. You want to hydrate. You want to wear sensible shoes, and you also, there's that 40 football fields, but you also want to leave some time amidst all those business meetings that you're having just for serendipity, to get around the show and find something you weren't expecting.
Let's take maybe in the last 5 years of CES, what are some things that really blew you away? I mean, obviously, I think we were standing together when we saw that big 150-inch television. What are some things that you said, wow?
Well, that's one thing. And that's, from the beginning of CES, television's been a big deal. It's been a big deal since television, really. But now we have the 4K UHD, ultra high definition, with HDR, high dynamic range. The biggest change in television in the last few years, in addition to all these great pictures you can get in bigger screens, also in smaller screens, it's how TV is delivered. Whether it's delivered over the air the old-fashioned way, whether it's delivered by satellite, by phone lines, by cable, or through the internet and to all kinds of small devices. So that's a huge, huge change. So television is one thing. The other thing is the growth of the in-vehicle technology. Again, it might have been you and I know it was some other old soldiers and I a few years ago who said we came to CES and an auto show broke out.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
absolutely.
Really what we have now. 9 of the top automakers are here again this year. This is where new technology is introduced in the automotive space. So that's a huge change as well.
You also get some great discussions going on. I just recently heard Volvo was going to be including, Skype in their vehicles, which on the surface we say, wow, that's awesome. But again, the discussion comes about the responsibility for the consumer to adapt this technology for safe use. That's
right.
Also discussions that are taking place.
Oh, absolutely. And as I said, there's a huge conference session here at the same time as the show floor is open. And those are some of the things: safety, security, cybersecurity, all of those things. We have lots of folks from the government here. We have I don't know, half a dozen or a dozen congressmen. There's people from the FCC, from the FTC, regulators, legislators. They come here because they want to see all of these different devices and all the technology that they are going to be making rules about in the coming years.
I'll tell you what, I loved looking at the CES Consumer Technology Association website and seeing a photo of Gary Shapiro from many years ago. I'm looking back on that and I'm thinking, this has been 50 years of innovation. Over that 50 years, what has been some of the biggest things that have been announced and launched at CES?
Well, 1970, the VCR was shown for the first time. In 1981, the compact disc, the CD, and again, that showed up in stores about 4 years later.
Right.
In the mid-90s, the high-definition TV was shown, and then showed up in stores in 99. So there's usually, we were talking earlier, a couple of year lag between some of these groundbreaking new technologies show up, and then when they show up in stores, when they get from CES into retail stores and then into our homes. So there's been lots and lots of that, and we just don't know what the next big thing is going to be.
Well, I'll tell you what, thanks for letting Tech Talk Radio be a part of that 50 years. We've been out there, we've broadcast. I know Slick is going to be out there this year. I hope he gets a chance to meet with you and hang out a bit. But in the meantime, we look forward to seeing you, because I know you do a tour after the big show and you kind of show off some of the really cool stuff.
Excellent. I'll look for Slick, and I will look for you. Look for me to come to Tucson sometime soon.
Excellent. Jim Barry, Consumer Technology Association, thank you so much for talking to us, and enjoy the time.
I will. Thank you, Andy.